Allplan offers a whole range of dedicated tools for frame structures. By frame structures, I mean, for example, those made of steel. In this regard, a whole series of new features have been introduced in Allplan 2026. Among these, without a doubt, it's worth mentioning that we now have a new type of element, the purlin, which is very similar to a beam, and above all, a new frame structure system for creating multiple placements of elements. After that, we have some very practical features such as a new point snap available within the general options of the program, where in addition to intersection point, midpoint, tangent point, and so on, I can also select a grid of axes. Clearly, the axis must be present within the document, and at this point, with this snap, I could also use it to draw other types of elements, not just frame structures. Speaking of snaps, the most important new feature in my opinion is this new input mode. This new input mode makes it much easier for me to select all the frame structure elements I have defined, allowing me to select not only the vertices directly, but also, for example, the axis of a steel structure or the start and end points. And above all, thanks to the fact that I will correctly connect all the elements, I will be able to generate all the steel joints much more easily. At this point, let's go directly into Allplan and start with a series of examples. Let's take, for example, this kind of bracing. Here it's actually a beam to immediately see the new input mode. So now I can select different types of modes. Let's choose the one related to the axis. For simplicity, I'll switch to a wireframe representation mode, and I can see how Allplan automatically displays the axis of all the steel structures I've already defined. This way, selecting the starting and ending elements becomes particularly easy. Let's try moving to another side of our steel structure in order to carefully create another bracing on this side. So I switch to wireframe mode, directly select my element, and then choose a point on the axis of my column as the first point. For the last point, I select the same anchoring point that was defined for the first bracing. So we've quickly and efficiently created a beam and a bracing just as intended. Here, for presentation purposes, I'm going to switch to an animated context and then directly call up the automatic steel joints. We'll define a whole series of parameters in terms of graphical representation, so let's go ahead and select our objects. Since these objects are now correctly and properly connected to each other, thanks to the input system we saw earlier, we can generate the steel connections extremely quickly and, most importantly, correctly and accurately. Now, let's try moving to the beam that we created earlier and carefully repeat the operation step by step to ensure everything works as expected. So I select the steel joints function or use the ACO key combination. I go ahead and select these elements, confirm with the right mouse button, and at this point Allplan has generated all the steel joints complete with bolts, welds, and everything else that is essentially required for this type of situation.